In 2009, there was this app on Facebook that was basically like an old school Tinder. I don't remember what it was called, but it basically showed you a photo of another person in your area and asked hot or not, or some shit like that. And you could see how folks responded on your photo. And because it was on Facebook, they could just click on your photo and be brought to your wall or whatever. So occasionally, I got dudes messaging me like, "Hey, I saw that I was hot. You're pretty cute too," or whatever. And normally, it was harmless, and I'd never talk to them again after a day or two. But this one dude messaged me and we got along fairly well. He asked for my phone number so he could text me, which I didn't see anything wrong with. I realize now that this dude was 18 when I was 14. Oh my god! Why the fuck are you on Tinder if you were 14? So this should have been an enormous red flag. It should have been a red flag that you're 14 and that you're on fucking Tinder. But at the time, I had no idea that was a super predatory age gap. You are 14 and you are on Tinder. You are baiting him. He's not a pedophile if he assumes that you are 18, because you are supposed to be 18 or older to be on Tinder. And you see, folks, this is exactly why COPA exists. I'm going to try to make it through the rest of this story, even though this story already is irritating the fuck out of me. So we'd text once in a while, and it was mostly normal. Then he wanted to meet in person, so I agreed. If I could bring a friend and meet in a public place. We met up at a mall, which he misread my text and drove to the wrong city, like 40 minutes the wrong way, so he ended up driving for like 90 minutes to meet me. And it was fairly normal, at least as far as I remember. This is where the creepy part starts. A few days after that meetup, he asked me the following question: if I could send him a pair of my dirty panties in the mail. I hate the word panties, but that is the word that he used. I was super shocked. This dude seemed pretty normal, but an 18-year-old asking a 14-year-old to send him her dirty underwear in the mail is so fucked up. Actually, you're a fucking idiot, because, again, he thought that you were 18, so who's the victim here, really? Children do not belong on dating websites. I declined, obviously, but he wouldn't drop it. I ended up just ignoring his text. I'm glad he stopped trying to contact me. After a while, he ended up sending me a text again like 6 months later, and I pretended to be someone else. I changed my voicemail to be one of those automatic ones, too, in case he called, so he wouldn't hear it was my voicemail. Or you could have just blocked his number. Phones have a block feature now. So from then on out, my friends and I referred to this dude as Creepy Panic Guy, because honestly, there is nothing else to call him. I legit don't remember his real name or anymore. He is going down in history as Creepy Panic Guy, and you were going down as the 14-year-old idiot that was on a dating site that was for 18 and older. I had a bad Tinder date. A guy kept messaging me on Tinder. He was 28, in DC, Pakistani, and pretty cute. I agreed to meet up with him after a class at a local brewery. When I got there, I assumed we'd share a drink. He then offered to split a bottle of red wine. After getting pretty tipsy, we got another and started making out. This better get creepy real soon because this seems pretty normal to me. He was soon too drunk to drive home, so I told him he could sleep on an inflatable mattress in my apartment, which, mind you, is carpeted. He comes back, goes into my bed, and then runs and starts throwing up red wine into a large area and vomits across the living room on my beige carpet. The guy first claimed he would pay for the cost, then later retracted, blaming me for cleaning it with something with bleach. The carpet dyers finally come today, saw the extent of the damage, and said it would not have been solvable with just normal cleaning. Plus, it costed me $800 for the carpet dyeing of the floor, 1 foot wide stains. Originally, the guy claimed he'd pay for half of it, and now he's refusing to. So, I'm not sure if I'll go on Tinder again. Seems to me that you just had a normal drunken date. Met a dude on Tinder. We had good chemistry within the app, so we graduated to texting. He initiated some dirty talk. I love that shit, so I figured why not? I'll probably never meet this guy in real life. Well, after some great sexting, we decided to meet up on the next night. We went to a bar near my place that had a great date atmosphere, good music, etc. We chatted for about 2 hours, good conversation. I took him home, and the sex was awesome. Mid-bang, while I'm on top, he gets all intense and tells me to look into his eyes. I didn't think I'd have this kind of connection. I kinda want you to be my girlfriend. I just kinda laughed and was like, what the fuck? And he said, you know. Just take it slow, though. Sure, bud, let's take it slow while I'm literally fucking you. Anyway, he apologized later and said he gets carried away sometimes, no worries on my part. We had sex in the morning, and then another couple of times after that over the next few weeks. Sex was good, conversation got a little dull though. Oh well, on to the next one. For some context, this took place in June 2018, about 2 weeks before I turned 18. I'm female and had just finished my A-levels and decided to join Tinder for a joke, just to have a bit of fun and waste time. I thought it would be fun to put my Snapchat in my bio just to see how many people added me, and I admit I enjoy the attention from guys. People added me, but no one actually messaged me except one guy. I'll keep his name anonymous. This guy was 20, I was 17 at the time, and was about an hour drive away from me. This is important later. We started off just innocently chatting. The conversation was dry, but it killed boredom, so I held the conversation. One day, he randomly popped up asking me, "So, when are we gonna meet then?" I was hesitant at first, but I agreed. In the end, after I ran it over my parents, I invited him over to my house. I don't know what I was thinking, but I told him he could come over. He got there the next day at 9 a.m., bearing in mind he lived an hour away from me. First red flag. I was confused as hell and wasn't even dressed for the day. Nevertheless, I invited him in and finished getting ready. We just chilled and watched films all day before I headed off.
Around 2 p.m., we chilled by the beach for a bit before coming back to the house at 5 p.m. I was expecting him to go home after that, but no, he stayed. We watched a couple more films, and every now and then I would look over to him and catch him flat out staring at me. He would lock eyes and would say something creepy like, "I love your eyes," or "I'm so glad I have met you," all while knowing me for all of 8 hours. I regret to say we ended up kissing. A lot I felt awkward in being a naive 17-year-old on her first real date. I thought that was what you were supposed to do. He left at around 10 p.m. He was at my house for 13 hours, but there were no sparks at my end. I was only expecting this to be a one-time thing. Nope, he turned up at 9 a.m. again, like 2 days later. I went along with it because I had nothing better to do. Didn't leave again until 9 p.m. At this point, I had no interest in seeing him again and didn't really feel a romantic connection with him. I will admit, I may have led him on, as I never actually told him I wasn't interested. Looking back now, I should have told him, and maybe the next event wouldn't have happened. My birthday rolls around. Well, the day before, he shows up at 9 a.m. again and takes me out. We go to the mall, and he buys me so much. I keep saying, "No, you don't have to," and "let me buy this," but he insisted because it was my birthday. I had only met this guy twice before and known him all of 5 minutes, and he was buying me so much stuff like clothes, makeup, and sexy underwear. I was still only 17. Even though my birthday was the next day, I felt like I was being treated like a prostitute. Every time we walked around, he would force my hand into his and try and kiss me. I felt so awkward. Anyway, we would get back to my house around 6 p.m. I come home to flowers from him and that he had delivered to my house. We chill in my room. I didn't know what to do. I felt trapped. I felt like I couldn't tell him to leave because he had just spent so much money on me. Anyway, he tried to have sex with me, and he kept saying, "Come on, didn't you have a nice birthday? And I came all this way for you." Just creepy stuff like that, trying to get me to sleep with him. I just kissed him and told him I didn't want to. I wasn't a virgin, but I definitely didn't want to sleep with him. He finally leaves and just break down crying. I don't know why. I just felt so trapped. I tried and be cold with him over message and stuff for the next few days, hoping to scare him off. Nope. About 3 days after my birthday, I get home from work at 9 p.m. Guess whose car I see parked outside of my fucking house? Yep. I walk in, and he's just sitting, chatting with my family in the lounge. They seem to really like him, even though I'd fucking told them how creepy he was. We ended up going to a local pub and getting drinks. We get back to my house, and I'm pretty drunk. He ordered me spirits, pretty much, even when I hadn't even asked him to buy me a drink. So I suggest more drinks and crack open a bottle of bubbly I saved from my birthday. As we are drinking more, he gets quieter. I look up at him and ask what's wrong, and he suddenly grabs me, kisses me, and tries to put his hand up my skirt. I immediately push him off and stare angrily at him. He then looks at me with a really sinister look and says, "I deserve it." Because he had alcohol, he couldn't drive me home, so he had to stay over. I tell him I'm too drunk and I just want to go to bed. Luckily, my mother happily showed him to the guest bedroom, and I didn't see him again until the morning. I woke up around 9 a.m. and walked downstairs to find him cuddling my cat in the garden. I tell him I had a call from work saying that they need me in about an hour and that he needs to leave. He tried to protest, saying that he'll wait till I'm finished and we can hang out, but I tell him no, and that I'm seeing a friend later, which wasn't a lie, but the work lie made him leave quicker, and yet he still protests, saying we can all hang out together. Eventually, he takes no for an answer and leaves. I cry and tell my mom everything. She still likes to tell me that he wasn't that bad to this day, but she didn't have to deal with him like I did. I meet my friend and tell her all about him, and that I'm going to leave in a couple of days and tell him I don't want to see him anymore. However, that same night I get a lengthy paragraph from this guy professing his undying love to me. Some of the most memorable quotes from this are, "You were my whole world. I'd be nothing without you, and I'm so glad I have met you. I can't wait to share a life together." That was it. I had to be straight up with him. I told him everything, that I didn't feel a connection to him, and that what he did to me when he was drunk was not okay. I even offered to return the things he bought, but he said no. Surprisingly, he actually apologized and said he was sorry for making me feel uncomfortable. Brilliant. Nope. He started stalking me. Anyway, who's got Snapchat will know that you can view a map that tells you where all of your friends are. You can turn it off so people can't see you, but I customize mine so that only people I'm close with can see where I am. He was one of them. I forgot to turn it off, and whenever I went out, he was there about an hour later. Remember, he lives about an hour from me. I first noticed he had followed me after I went to the beach. Same one I went to with him, with my friend. About 2 or 3 hours into our day, we were getting ready to go home. I opened my snap maps just so that I could see that me and my friend were together and show her. When I saw who shall not be named with us, his little Bitmoji character, probably like 200 yards away from us, seen just now, my eyes widened. I told my friend that the guy I had been complaining about all day was literally here, now with us somewhere. We both panicked and sped walked to my car and drove home. This happened 2 more times, once again with the same friend, when we visited a reservoir near my town. There was no reason for him to be there, so I messaged him. I asked him what he was doing at the reservoir when I got home. He said he was taking pictures, but the reservoir would have been more like a 3-hour road trip for him to drive, and he had never mentioned photography to me before, so I did not believe in him. It happened a 3rd time, and that's when I blocked him. I was with my goddamn extended family in a restaurant, yet this time he messaged me his location on Snapchat, which is a little thing you can do. He was in the fucking building. I had to then come up with an excuse to tell all my extended family, who I haven't seen for months, why we had to leave. I told my mom the truth, and then she explained to them after. They were understanding. I'd had enough. I didn't even message him again. I blocked him on everything, and I didn't hear from him again. In 2015, when I was 20, I was using Tinder a lot. Sometimes I would go out with a girl and we wouldn't connect, or I'd get stood up. I went to meet up with some friends from IU in Bloomington for a weekend of just hanging out and enjoyment, and I figured I might meet a nice girl and hang out and get to know. I don't remember the girl's name particularly because we matched and we had talked for about a day and decided to hang out at her apartment that evening. I told my friends I was going to go out to her apartment, which was only 5 minutes away from their place. I got in my car and put my GPS on and made it to the apartment in a few minutes, texting her and asking which apartment door was hers. I walked around the open complex searching for the right numbers until I got to her building. I texted her to meet me at the door to let me know, and because I was sure I was at the building, she said okay, and I stood outside waiting for about 5 minutes. Let me just say that it is about 10 o'clock in the winter. I noticed something as I looked at my phone. Waiting to a window with blinds from the bottom floor opened up with what I could assume was 4 different people staring at me. I texted this girl asking where she was, and she had told me the door to her building was open and her apartment was the first on the right. I walked to the door and was surprised it was unlocked as soon as the door to the complex was shut. I turned to the left and I heard from behind the door someone say, "Shh, he's outside the door." At that point I realized the door I was at was the same one with the people staring out the window at me, and I got a gut reaction to leave, or something was going to happen to me. I walked out of the complex and went by the window, which I noticed the lights had been shut off, and I ran to my car and got out of there as fast as I could. As I got back to my friend's place, I explained to them the situation, and they didn't really take it seriously as I did. As the night went on, we had a few beers, and before I went to bed, I got a text saying, "Where did you go? I've been waiting for you." I blocked the number and went to sleep. So if you have ever used a dating site, always meet in public. If you're new, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, as it really helps me out. And if you are already subscribed, welcome back and thank you for subscribing.